Chapter 435, 10,000 Snakes. Snap. Sensing the change in light, the entire Bailey main building automatically switched to night mode, bright lights illuminating a corner of the darkness, but in the next moment, it exploded with a deafening roar. It was as if an invisible hand in the darkness had crushed all sources of light, and the brightly lit main building instantly fell back into pitch blackness. Darkness became the dominant force in this world. In the darkness, Lin Chia, dressed in a suit and wielding dual blades, slowly approached. His realm was rapidly ascending. Peak Chuan Realm, High Realm, Peak High Realm, Wuliang Peak Wuliang. Ultimately, Lin Chia's realm froze at the moment he was about to step into Klein. Peak Wuliang, half-step Klein. Back when he faced the Flame Pulse Earth Dragon on Jinan Mountain, Lin Chia, who was only at the Qi realm, broke through directly to Peak High Realm by relying on his soul's capacity. Now his own strength had already reached the Chuan realm, and his upper limit had increased accordingly. Flecks of starlight radiated from Lin Chia, making him seem like a different person, exuding an imperial majesty with every gesture. And Qingyu and Jelon looked at the current Lin Chia, their mouths agape in shock. Only the madman Chao Yuan continued to chuckle foolishly. The pressure of the night goddess? How did he do it? Bai Li Xen frowned as he watched Lin Chia approach, a look of surprise finally appearing on his face. The 12 forbidden object users stood motionless before the high platform, their gazes towards Lin Chia growing serious. The situation was somewhat beyond their expectations. It seems the secrets you carry are far more than we imagined. Bai Li Xian's expression gradually calmed. But if you think you can rely solely on this power to contend with the Bai Li family, you are still too naive. Boom. The 12 forbidden object users struck simultaneously, dazzling attacks flying towards Lin Chia, who stood at the center of the night. Is that so? Lin Chia's eyes narrowed slightly. Then how about this? His fingertips curled slightly, and a brilliant summoning array appeared before him. In the next moment, a black box landed steadily on the ground. It was one of the 3 black boxes known as the Wrath of the Evil God, seized from the ancient God Church. The instant the black box appeared, Bai Li Xen keenly sensed something was off. Having immersed himself in forbidden objects for decades, he could easily perceive the evil aura emanating from within the box, cold and powerful. Wait. Bai Li Xian's expression changed, and just as he was about to say something, Lin Chia had already slapped the surface of the box. Bang! With a muffled sound, the lid of the black box flew open. An ancient and eerie black snake skin lay quietly in the center of the box. This snake skin was only about 4 to 5 meters long, coiled within the box like a decayed rope, but its surface was covered with complex and mysterious patterns. The moment the lid opened, an extreme stench filled the venue. The 12 forbidden object users simultaneously frowned, unable to help but cover their noses. Hiss. The clear sound of a tongue flicking echoed in the venue, and then a spine-chilling scene unfolded. The ancient snake skin lying in the black box seemed to come to life, its withered head swaying as it bit down on its own tail. Hiss. More and more flicking sounds emerged from the snake skin, and a black pattern on its surface began to twist bizarrely, detaching from the skin and swelling in the air, instantly transforming into a nearly 2-meter-wide giant python, roaring as it rapidly slithered forward. Then came the second, the third. Every pattern on the snake skin morphed into a giant python, surging out in a frenzy. The black box could only hold for a moment before it burst apart, scattering into countless fragments. The snake skin, still holding its tail, quietly fell to the ground, resembling a black hole from which endless giant pythons emerged. Seconds later, the entire floor transformed into a sea of pythons. Lin Chia's expression shifted slightly, and his figure instantly vanished from his original spot, reappearing in another part of the night. The next moment, the place he had just stood was covered by the sea of pythons. What the hell is this thing? Bai Li Xen looked in confusion at the snake skin from which giant pythons continuously emerged, his face darkening. The giant pythons nearly filled the entire floor, rampaging towards the central high platform, while many began to gnaw at all the load-bearing pillars on this level, cracks spreading across their surfaces. Some giant pythons even crawled out from the edges of the floor, extending along the steel reinforcements to the lower levels. A terrifying python disaster was spreading through the main building. First, clear the pythons. We can't let them spread. The 12 forbidden object users immediately changed their target and began attacking the nearby pythons. However, these pythons were of an unknown species, their scales incredibly hard. Even the High Realm could barely break through their defenses, and with such a terrifying number, the clearing speed of the 12 forbidden object users was much slower than anticipated. Lin Chia's figure flickered, directly using the night flicker to move above the high platform. The surrounding darkness like ink stained the wall of size, and the invisible wall was instantly corroded, creating one pit after another. Lin Chia's straight blade suddenly thrust out, piercing through the surface of the wall of size and embedding itself into the structure. The cold blade light reflected on Bai Li Xian and his son's faces, causing Bai Li Jing's expression to darken. Lin Chia, do you know what you're doing? Bai Li Xian spoke in a low voice. I know, Lin Chia replied. I'm avenging my brother. Bai Li Xian snorted coldly, reaching out into the void, and a glaring golden spear appeared in his hand. The moment the spear appeared, Lin Chia's pupils contracted, and his figure flashed, disappearing from the spot. Whoosh! Boom! A thick golden beam of light pierced through the heavy floor, directly penetrating the top level of the main building, shining into the night sky. An extreme attack-type high-risk forbidden object. Lin Chia squinted at the spear in Bai Li Xian's hand, murmuring to himself. The moment the spear appeared, he sensed the terrifying power fluctuations within it. Even with the soul of Nike's now residing in him, granting him half-step climb strength, he did not dare to take this blow head-on. Below the massive floor hole, Bai Li Xian held the golden spear, coldly watching Lin Chia's figure. Leo, Aries, Virgo. Here. The 3 forbidden object users responded simultaneously. Don't worry about those snakes, kill this kid first. Bai Li Xian spoke icily. Understood. The 12 forbidden object users, 1 Klein and 2 Wuliang, simultaneously broke free from the sea of pythons, transforming into 3 streaks of light rushing towards Lin Chia, who was not far away. Ares held a ram's horn, the tip of which emitted a faint red glow. He raised his hand and pointed the horn at Lin Chia, a flash of red light instantly piercing through space and penetrating Lin Chia's shoulder. Struck by the red light, Lin Chia's figure slowly faded, ultimately disappearing without a trace. It was merely an afterimage. Come on! Lin Chia roared, and the surrounding darkness seemed to come alive, surging towards the 3 like a tsunami. Chapter 436, Kinetic Energy Longsword. What kind of monster is he? Wei Xiuming murmured as he watched Lin Chia entangled in battle with the 3 forbidden object users. Bang! A flying kick from Jialan sent the dazed Wei Xiuming flying over 10 meters, crashing heavily against the wall. Spacing out, humph. Jialan looked at Wei Xiuming, who was embedded in the wall, hands on her hips with a huff. Outside the main building, the buzzing sound of explosions echoed. Jialan's attention was drawn to that battlefield. Turning her head, she saw Lin Chia with long hair wielding dual blades, dancing wildly under the night sky like a phantom, her gaze momentarily entranced. His long hair, looks quite nice, huh? Jialan thought to herself. Smack. While Jialan was lost in thought, Wei Xiuming swung a blade at her back, but it felt like striking a solid rock, leaving no mark whatsoever. Wei Xiuming. Jialan turned around, her expression unfriendly. Outside the main building, 4 figures collided and separated intermittently, the stars twinkling in the night sky, swaying precariously. A maiden draped in a white veil reached out, and the light fabric on her arms unfurled like 2 swimming dragons, extending infinitely towards Lin Chia. The latter flickered under the night sky, evading all the veils. Lin Chia opened his left hand, pressing towards the distant maiden, softly chanting, Night Lord's Judgment. The night above twisted rapidly, and in the next moment, dozens of black pillars fell from the sky, piercing through most of the white veils and nailing them directly to the steel framework outside the main building. Lin Chia flickered to her front, his straight blade slicing through the night, aimed directly at her neck. Clang! The man known as Klein, who was called the Lion, also teleported in front of her, drawing an ancient long sword to intercept Lin Chia's strike. The clash of blade and sword sparked blinding flames, the sound reverberating painfully in the ears. Just as Lin Chia was about to strike again, a terrifying kinetic energy erupted from that long sword, as if a high-speed train had collided head-on with Lin Chia's blade. His right-hand sword was knocked from his grip. Lin Chia's body was violently pushed back, but after a series of flickers he quickly returned to his original position. Furrowing his brows, he grasped at the void, summoning the straight sword back to his hand. He gazed at the ancient long sword in the lion's hand, murmuring, "A sword that can manipulate kinetic energy?" The lion held the sword, and with a flick among the shards of glass scattered on the ground, the shards were ejected like an electromagnetic cannon, the deafening sound cutting through the sky, reaching Lin Chia in an instant. As darkness spread in Lin Chia's eyes, he reached out and gently pressed in the void. All the glass shards were eroded by the deepest darkness, hovering in front of him before helplessly falling beneath the clouds. Now he finally understood the abilities of the three forbidden object users before him. The infinitely extendable and indestructible white veil, the ram's horn that could ignore space and armor to inflict damage, and the long sword that could manipulate kinetic energy. Knowing their abilities made the next steps easier. Puff. A soft sound came from within the building as the white ram clapped his ram's horn, and another red light pierced through space, landing on Lin Chia, but it only struck an afterimage. Just as the white ram frowned and locked onto Lin Chia's figure again, preparing to strike with the ram's horn, a figure appeared behind him like a ghost. The white ram's pupils constricted, and in the next moment, a hand pierced through his body from behind, bursting out of his chest. The blood-soaked hand crushed the heart it held, slowly withdrawing from his back. The expressionless ninth seat shook his hand and turned to look at the maiden pinned to the building by Lin Chia, a cold smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. In mid-air, Lin Chia, who was rapidly gathering the surrounding darkness, noticed the white ram's sudden death. His eyes filled with confusion as he focused on the unfamiliar figure, his brows slightly furrowing. Who is he? Why is he helping me? Just as Lin Chia was puzzled, a golden light shot out from the imitation yaoguang on the lion's wrist, transforming into a small flying sword, heading straight for Lin Chia in the sky. Lin Chia withdrew his gaze, concentrating on the enemy before him. Unlike his peak Wuliang, the lion wielding that ancient longsword was a true Klein realm expert. Although he now bore the soul of the night goddess, the gap between a quasi-Klein and a Klein was not easily crossed. Knowing that the opponent could manipulate kinetic energy, Lin Chia chose not to engage in a blade-to-blade fight. From the earlier situation, that sword could only manipulate the kinetic energy of objects it directly contacted. It had done so when it deflected his straight sword and flicked the glass shards. Lin Chia reached out towards the rapidly approaching figure, pressing in the void, and points of starry shadows lit up behind him. Falling stars. Those stars fell from the night sky, igniting brilliant flames as they streaked through the atmosphere, trailing long, shining tails, resembling a meteor shower descending from the heavens. The lion's eyes narrowed slightly, his speed showing no signs of slowing as he charged towards the dazzling falling stars. His figure collided directly with the first starry shadow. The moment the long sword in his hand touched its surface, the star seemed to lose its falling energy, pausing in midair, its flames extinguishing instantly, and the shadow gradually faded away. He continued towards the next star. One sword after another, every star he struck with his long sword floated lightly in the air, losing all kinetic energy. Lin Chia's brows furrowed slightly. It seemed that the sword could not only manipulate the kinetic energy of solid objects but could even affect the shadows of stars. This meant there were even fewer ways to restrain him. As the entire 166th floor descended into chaos, no one noticed that the numbers in the elevator shaft, which had paused at a certain floor, suddenly began to jump. 100th floor, 110th floor, 120th floor, 160th floor, 166th floor. Ding. The crisp sound of the elevator arriving echoed in the noisy venue, causing the forbidden object users battling the giant serpents to momentarily freeze. At this moment, how could there still be an elevator coming up? The entrance to the elevator should have been sealed off. Standing on the high platform observing the battlefield, Bai Lisan frowned in confusion and turned to look. The elevator doors slowly opened, the lights inside flickering, and through the dim light, A blood-soaked figure could be seen standing in the center of the elevator. Under the pale light, a pig mask with a silly smile slowly lifted. Chapter 437. All Things Disarmed. That is. Bailey Jing saw the familiar figure and the blood-stained deep blue suit, his pupils constricting, disbelief etched across his face. How is this possible? It can't be him. I clearly confirmed his corpse multiple times. Even the resurrection jade couldn't bring the dead back to life. This is impossible. He stared blankly at the figure, murmuring to himself. Bailey Exon squinted at the figure slowly walking out of the elevator, his brows tightly furrowed. The lights in the elevator flickered and finally plunged into darkness, the figure wearing a Zhu Beiji mask calmly advancing, the blood-red suit appearing grotesque in the dim light. He glanced around, taking in the chaotic and devastated venue, and the eyes behind the mask narrowed slightly. Boom. From above, the intense sounds of Lin Chia battling the lion echoed. Bailey Pang looked up, seeing the figure fighting valiantly against the night sky. After a long silence, the corners of his mouth beneath the mask couldn't help but rise. Thank you. He gazed at the members of the 5th Reserve Team fighting in every corner, speaking hoarsely. His eyes, which seemed to have lost all hope and light, became slightly moist. You're still alive? Bailey Jing descended from the platform, standing before Bailey Pang, his voice deep. Your heart was clearly crushed by me and the resurrection jade didn't activate. How did you survive? Bailey Pong's gaze fixed on that face, a chilling, killing intent radiating from him. You are not dead. Bailey Xan is not dead, and this filthy, stinking Bailey family still exists in this world. How could I die? How could I die? His voice paused for a moment, his gaze falling on the figure in the sky. Moreover, there are still people waiting for me in this world. It seems that during your time away from home, you've gained some opportunities. Bailey Jing frowned. But that doesn't matter. Since you've come to me, then dying once more will suffice. Bailey Pang did not respond. He slowly turned his head to look at the figure on the platform. Bailey Xun, don't you have anything you want to say to me? His hoarse voice echoed in the air. Bailey Xun glanced at him, slowly turning away, his gaze returning to the chaotic battlefield. Kill him. He spoke flatly. Bailey Jing sneered, the green jade finger ring covering his body like a tide, transforming into a suit of green armor that shimmered with a faint glow. He pushed off the ground, his figure darting toward Bailey Pang like a flash of lightning. Bailey Pang slowly closed his eyes, burying the self-mockery and sadness in his gaze. The smiling Zhu Beiji mask hung low, and he raised a hand, gently pressing against the void before him. Formation activate. In the darkness, a massive Taiji Bagua diagram erupted from beneath his feet. Black and white rapidly extended from his feet, instantly covering the entire 166th floor venue, even surpassing the boundaries of the floor, continuing to spread into the high sky around. In the night, a Taiji Bagua diagram that covered a small part of the sky slowly rotated. Lin Chia, who was battling the lion, saw this sudden appearance of the Taiji diagram in the air, confusion flickering in his eyes. He looked down at the center of the venue and saw the bloodied figure wearing the Zhu Beiji mask, his pupils suddenly constricting. His body trembled uncontrollably. The lion flashed behind Lin Chia, swinging the kinetic energy sword in his hand. Get away from me! Lin Chia roared, the night behind him erupting violently, directly sending the lion flying. Lin Chia did not pursue. His figure flashed as he rushed toward the figure in the venue. In the venue. This aura, is Sea Realm? Bailey Jing's eyes narrowed, confusion filling his gaze. You not only came back to life but also broke through to the Sea Realm? Bailey Pang, standing at the center of the massive Taiji diagram, calmly looked at him without answering his question. Instead, he gently rotated the hand suspended in midair, as if manipulating an invisible knob, twisting it in the opposite direction. Chaos of heaven and earth. He slowly uttered 4 words. In an instant, the north and south directions of the enormous Taiji diagram beneath him revealed the Qian and Kuan trigrams, which then swapped places, Qian moving to the south and Kuan to the north. The yin-yang fish beneath him switched black and white, slowly rotating in the opposite direction. Yin and yang reversed. A mysterious wave of law radiated from him as the center. Bailey Jing's green jade armor suddenly trembled, uncontrollably dissipating, transforming back into a finger ring that flew from his body, rapidly shooting toward Bailey Pang Pang at the center of the Taiji diagram. Might green jade armor. How is this possible? Bailey Jing watched in horror as this forbidden item detached from his body. Bailey Pang Pang lightly hooked his finger, and the green jade finger ring automatically flew onto his right thumb, quietly emitting a faint glow. At the same time, other forbidden item users found their items slipping from their grasp uncontrollably. Treasure vases, capes, turtle shells, all forbidden items below the Wuliang realm simultaneously betrayed their masters, instantly rebounding against the spirits of the forbidden item users, then flying toward Bailey Pang Pang at the center of the Taiji diagram. The many forbidden item users engaged in a fierce battle with the endless giant python lost their sources of power and were momentarily stunned by the spiritual backlash, freezing in place. The surging giant python opened its bloody mouth, instantly devouring half of their bodies, engulfing them in a sea of snakes. The Bailey family's zodiac suffered over half its losses in an instant. 8 forbidden items floated around Bailey Pang Pang, radiating entirely different auras quietly guarding him. With a single thought, the chaos of heaven and earth reversed. All things disarmed. Even the lion in midair could feel the kinetic energy sword in his hand trembling violently. If he hadn't been suppressing it with his mental power, that sword would likely have betrayed his control and fallen into Bailey Pang Pang's hands. Bailey Xian on the platform was no different. As the head of the Bailey family, he rarely personally engaged in battle, but that didn't mean his realm was low. How could someone who single-handedly supported the entire forbidden item collection be weak? His mental power surged, and the pressure of his realm had already reached the peak of the Wuliang realm. While suppressing the restless high-risk forbidden items, he stared in shock at Bailey Pang Pang at the center of the Taiji diagram, his mind reeling. What kind of power is this? In the blink of an eye, it seized 8 top-tier forbidden items? He could be certain that this was definitely not the effect of any single forbidden item, but a forbidden item realm with such terrifying power he had never even heard of. Undoubtedly, this forbidden item realm was the natural enemy of the Bailey family. Bailey Jing stared blankly at the few forbidden items, completely dumbfounded. Just as Bailey Pang Pang was about to take action, a figure rapidly flashed in front of him. Lin Chia, shrouded in darkness, stood there, staring blankly at the smiling Zhu Beiji mask, his eyes shining brightly. Pang Pang, are you okay? His mental power swept over Bailey Pang Pang's body, noticing the bloodstain on his chest and the face behind the mask. His expression darkened instantly. Your face. A smile appeared on Bailey Pang Pang's face beneath the mask, his eyes slightly red. I'm fine, Chia. He turned to look at the chaotic venue, slowly opening his cracked lips, softly speaking, Thank you, for not giving up on me. Lin Chia patted his shoulder. What nonsense are you saying? Remember, even if the whole world abandons you, we will always stand by your side. Upon hearing this, all the grievances and sadness that Bailey Pang Pang had suppressed within him could no longer be contained. Tears streamed down his cheeks, dripping from the edge of the mask. He gritted his teeth, struggling to hold back his sobs. His eyes were red and he nodded heavily. Are you sad? Lin Chia asked. Yes. Are you angry? Lin Chia's lips curled slightly upward as he turned to look at the shattered main building, calmly stating, Then, let's turn this place upside down together. Bailey Pang Pang wiped away his tears, determination shining in his eyes. Okay. Chapter 438, Bai Li and Bai Li. Do whatever you want to do, kill whoever you want to kill. Lin Chia tightened his grip on the dual blades, his gaze sweeping over the numerous forbidden object users before him. I will take care of all the enemies standing in your way. With a flick of his wrist, the brilliance of summoning magic flickered, and a silver magic cube quietly hovered in his hand. As the chaotic cube twisted, the entire layout of the 166th floor was completely disrupted. The original forbidden object user of the Sea realm had already been disarmed by Bailey Pang Pang, leaving him with no combat capability, as he was being slaughtered unilaterally by the 9th seat. Adding to this, the recently eliminated Aries and Virgo meant that only the Sky Lion and the Limitless Realm Archer still had combat power among the 12 forbidden object users. Seeing Bailey Xian and his son in crisis, the Archer immediately charged toward the high platform. Just then the space around him twisted and in the next moment he was teleported in front of the ninth seat, who was slaughtering the forbidden object users. Huh. The ninth seat looked at the archer who suddenly appeared before him with surprise. Are you here to die too? The archer's expression darkened. Whoosh. A figure flew down from the hollow floor, the lion wielding an energy sword landing before the high platform, his face grim as he stared at Bailey Pang Pang and Lin Chia. Lin Chia glanced around. This should be the last one, it's a bit tricky. Can you handle both of them at the same time? Lin Chia looked back at Bailey Pang Pang with some concern. Bailey Pang Pang nodded. My forbidden realm is the natural enemy of the Bailey family, don't worry. Good. In Lin Chia's palm the chaotic magic cube twisted again, and in the next moment, both Lin Chia and the lion vanished, teleported elsewhere. No one stood in Bailey Pong Pong's way anymore as he stepped forward, slowly walking toward Bailey Jing below the high platform. As the blood-red figure wearing a silly pig mask approached, Bailey Jing's face turned pale. The shock from Bailey Pang Pang instantly disarming all the forbidden objects was too great for him. Seeing the forbidden objects floating beside his opponent, Bailey Jing stiffly began to retreat. He was afraid. After all, he was just a businessman. He could command the market, but when it came to combat skills, he wasn't even worthy to carry Bailey Pong Pong's shoes. Although he had started learning to use forbidden objects since childhood, it was merely ordinary training. He had never engaged in a true life-and-death struggle. After all, according to the plan, he didn't need to participate in combat personally. As long as Bailey Pang Pang handled the toughest parts, he could directly inherit the other's identity. If Bailey Pong Pong's mental power hadn't been sealed earlier, if he hadn't been absolutely certain, he wouldn't have dared to act against Bailey Pang Pang. Now he was even more hesitant. Why are you retreating? Bailey Pang Pang said lightly from behind the silly pig mask. Aren't you here to kill me again? I'm right here. Do you dare to come and kill me? Bailey Jing swallowed hard, his body retreating to the edge of the high platform. He looked up at Bailey Exon, who stood on the platform, and spoke with a pale face. Father. This. Bailey Exon frowned at him, snorting coldly. Is this all the courage you have? With this attitude, how can you ever be a high-ranking member of the Night Watch? You disappoint me greatly. And no, father. Bailey Jing hurriedly replied. He can take my forbidden objects. My forbidden objects are completely useless. This isn't fair at all. Bailey Exon squinted at Bailey Pang Pang for a long time, then tossed a golden spear into Bailey Jing's hands. After hesitating for a moment, he pulled out a worn wooden sword sheath from the void and hung it on Bailey Jing's back. You should recognize these two items. My mental power is attached to them, so he can't take them away. Bailey Exon said calmly. Although he has many forbidden objects apart from the jade armor, the rest are of low rank and are far inferior to these two items. You are my son, raised by me, Bailey Exon. If you can't even defeat that waste, it only shows that you are unworthy of being the head of the Bailey family and have no hope of becoming a high-ranking member of the Night Watch. If you can't become a high-ranking member of the Night Watch, then you have no value in existing. Hearing the last sentence, Bailey Jing's body trembled, fear flashing in his eyes. I will win. Father. I will definitely win. Bailey Jing tightly gripped the golden spear. I will prove to you that I am stronger than that waste. I am more worthy of being your son than he is. With a clenched jaw, he suddenly charged at Bailey Pang Pang. Bailey Pang Pang fixed his gaze on Bailey Exon, sneering as he spoke. So, you can be so cold-blooded toward your own son? Is there really nothing in your eyes but profit? This is a society where profit is paramount. Only truly ruthless people can stand above all others, Bailey Exon replied. Bailey Jing removed his golden-rimmed glasses and tossed them aside, his tightly gripped spear stabbing out like lightning. Boom! A thick golden beam erupted from the spear tip, instantly piercing through the entire 166th floor, shooting into the sky. The terrifying shockwave rippled out from the beam, melting nearby walls. Bailey Pong Pong's figure appeared atop one of the fish in the Taiji diagram. A flash of light crossed his eyes, and the jade ring on his thumb rapidly disassembled, transforming into a complete set of jade armor that gently covered Bailey Pong Pong's body. A tattered cloak hung behind the armor, and he held a treasure vase in one hand and a wooden ruler over a meter long in the other. The blood-red eye that had been floating behind him vanished into thin air, then slowly opened on the pig mask. A murky beam of mental energy erupted from the eye, rapidly shooting toward Bailey Jing's body. Buzz! The wooden sword sheath behind Bailey Jing suddenly trembled, and before the mental beam could touch his body, it was forcefully dispersed in midair. Bailey Jing's gaze was fixed on Bailey Pang Pang. The moment he appeared, he immediately thrust his spear toward his position, with successive golden beams shooting out from the top of the main building, causing the entire top floor to begin shaking. Creak. The steel beams supporting the top floor emitted a low hum, and some debris fell from the ceiling. A few remaining load-bearing columns could no longer support the weight of this floor, and dense cracks began to spread. Bailey Exon frowned slightly, taking a gentle step forward. Particles of black sand spread from beneath his feet, surging into the load-bearing columns like a tide, and the precariously shaking top floor finally stabilized just barely. Chapter 439. Cost-Effectiveness. Bailey Pang Pang's plump figure flickered like a ghost above the Taiji diagram, and beneath the Zhu Beiji mask his eyes were remarkably calm. Li Hua. He whispered, and in the next moment, a Li hexagram's phantom slowly emerged in the southeast corner of the enormous Taiji diagram. Whoosh! A raging fire ignited in front of Bailey Pang Pang. He lightly tapped with his fingertip, and the flame instantly transformed into hundreds of fiery raindrops, shooting straight towards Bailey Jing, who stood in the corner of the Taiji diagram. Bailey Jing gripped his spear, the tip shimmering with golden light. Without a moment's hesitation, he charged into the sky filled with fire rain, his spear darting forward, and a massive golden beam of light instantly extinguished those fiery raindrops in midair. Jin Lei. Bailey Pang Pang whispered again, and a hexagram appeared once more in the southwest direction of the Taiji diagram. Crack! Above the clouds, lightning surged and a thick, menacing bolt of thunder streaked across the sky, piercing straight through the hollow at the top of the main building, striking towards Bailey Jing on the Taiji diagram. At the moment the lightning struck Bailey Jing, the wooden sword sheath on his back emitted a burst of dark light, directly absorbing the thunderbolt into the pitch-black sheath, making it vanish. Bailey Jing sneered coldly, removing the sheath from his back, pointing its opening at Bailey Pang Pang and giving it a gentle wave. The menacing lightning surged out from the sheath's opening again, resembling a shining sword of lightning, stabbing towards Bailey Pang Pang's body. Bailey Pang Pang narrowed his eyes slightly, his right hand's wooden ruler flashing out like lightning, colliding with the lightning sword, the dancing arcs of electricity leaping in the air, disappearing under the strike of the wooden ruler. Shi Yuan sword sheath. Bailey Pang Pang spoke lightly. Although I've heard of it for a long time, this is my first time seeing this treasure. It seems that any form of energy attack is ineffective against you. He waved his hand gently and 4 of the 5 forbidden objects floating behind him were tossed aside, while the treasure vase in his left hand was placed on the ground. Clad in a tattered cloak holding a wooden ruler, a pair of light wheels slowly rotated behind him. His figure flickered, and under the effect of the tattered cloak, he transformed into a shadow that swept through the air, appearing in front of Bailey Jing in the blink of an eye. Bailey Jing snorted coldly, raising his spear once more. Qian Kun and Wan. Bailey Pang Pang pointed his hand, and the Qian and Kun hexagrams switched places again. All things disarm. The golden spear and the wooden sword sheath trembled simultaneously, as if they were about to slip from his grasp. Bailey Exon, standing on the high platform, furrowed his brow, forcibly suppressing the 2 restless forbidden objects with his mental power, but just that moment of delay caused Bailey Jing to miss the best opportunity to strike. Seeing Bailey Pang Pang break through to his front, Bailey Jing suddenly felt flustered, hurriedly trying to swing the golden spear in his hand, but he overlooked the fact that the spear's length put him at an absolute disadvantage in close combat. Witnessing this scene, Bailey Xion's brow furrowed tightly, shaking his head in regret. Foolish. Bailey Pang Pang's wooden ruler flashed out like lightning, accurately striking the spear's shaft, sending it flying again. Caught off guard, Bailey Jing was taken aback, his other hand reaching for the Shi Yuan sword sheath behind him, but his speed was too slow. Bailey Pang Pang slightly rotated his body, using his own momentum to deliver a heavy elbow strike to Bailey Jing's chin. Under the coverage of the green jade armor, the kinetic energy of this strike was no less than that of a speeding car. Bang! In an instant, Bai Li Jing's figure was sent flying over 10 meters. His body crashed into a load-bearing pillar, feeling as if all his internal organs were about to shatter. He painfully crawled on the ground, opening his mouth, a mouthful of blood mixed with several teeth falling out, his face twisted beyond recognition. The excruciating pain made his face twitch uncontrollably. He howled, trying to rise from the ground, but his limbs had already gone limp, writhing and struggling on the ground like a pitiful maggot. Bai Li Pang, draped in the cloak, instantly appeared in front of him again, kicking him in the chest and sending him flying backward once more. His figure spun several times in midair, and his grip on the golden spear loosened, causing it to slip from his hand. His body crashed down beneath the high platform, his chest caved in significantly. Ugh, cough. He curled up, mumbling incoherently. Seeing Bai Li Jing below, who had even lost his weapon, Bai Li Xian's disappointment grew more intense, and his expression darkened. Father. Bai Li Jing grasped the edge of the high platform, struggling to rise from the ground. Bloodied and gasping, he looked up at Bai Li Xian, speaking in utter disarray. He cheated. This is completely unfair. Father, give me another forbidden object. Give me a more powerful one. Father, lend me, allergy. I can definitely kill him, really. This time I will definitely kill him. Please give me another chance. Bai Li Xian gazed at the figure pleading desperately below, filled with disappointment and indifference. He raised his head to look at Bai Li Pang, who was slowly approaching. I misjudged you. Bai Li Xian spoke lightly. You are more valuable than him. Bai Li Pang stood beneath the high platform, lifting his mask and scoffing disdainfully. Bai Li Xian continued as if he hadn't heard. Your type of forbidden object has never appeared in history. Just based on the abilities you have displayed so far, you can definitely rank among the top 40 in high-risk categories, and even reach the level of Wang Su. Even without the Bai Li family's background, with your current potential, you would be enough to join a special team and become a key training target for the Night Watchers. Bai Li Pang looked at him. So? You have already proven through your actions that you possess more value for cultivation than this waste. Bai Li Xian slowly spoke. How about we make a deal? Father. Bai Li Jing, lying on the ground, seemed to think of something, a flash of fear crossing his eyes. He spoke anxiously. Father, you can't make a deal with this waste. I am your biological son, you can't. Shut up. Bai Li Xian glared at him, kicking him away from the edge of the high platform. A deal. Bai Li Pang spoke calmly. I want to hear what kind of deal it is. Come back. Bai Li Xian's eyes sparkled with brilliance. Return to the Bai Li family, be my son again. The name Bai Li Tuming will be yours. The Bai Li group can also be yours. All the forbidden objects can be yours. Since I can change your profile to Bai Li Jing's, I can also change all of his profiles back to yours. From now on, you will be my biological son, the true heir of the Bai Li group. Everything that happens here today I can treat as if it never happened. You can return to your 5th reserve team, be the young master of the Bai Li family again, and restart the birthday banquet. I will publicly announce your heir status in front of everyone. As compensation, I can sponsor your team with 500 million and give you one of my treasures. I know you may not be good at business, but that doesn't matter. I can arrange everything for you. You just need to quietly be your Night Watcher and one day rise to the upper echelons of the Night Watchers, providing convenience for the Bai Li family. Isn't this deal very worthwhile? Chapter 440. I am a professional assassin. No. Father, you can't do this. I am the heir of the Bai Li group. I am your son. Bai Li Jing, hearing these words, crawled over from a distance, incredulously speaking. He pointed at Bai Li Pang. He is just a useless person, a scapegoat. How can you hand the Bai Li group over to him? Bai Li Xian frowned, and the black fine sand scattered on the ground gathered into a huge hand, which suddenly slapped Bai Li Jing's face, sending him flying into the distance. What are you? You think you deserve to be my son? Bai Li Xian spoke coldly. He turned to look at Bai Li Pang, whose expression was hidden behind a pig mask, and continued, Forget everything that happened here today. Your mother and I will love you just as we love Bai Li Jing. We will let you experience true family warmth. Once you take charge of the Bai Li group and become a high-ranking member of the Night Watch, you will be one of the most powerful people in Daxia. At that time you can do whatever you want. After all, you have nothing to lose. Your teammates are all intact. If you are still bothered by the scar on your face that Bailey Jing gave you, I can let you ruin his face as well. You can ask for any compensation and I will satisfy you. Bailey Exon stared into Bailey Peng Peng's eyes, waiting for his response. Bailey Peng Peng slowly spoke, pointing at the mud-like Bailey Jing beside him. If I agree to you, what will happen to him? Bailey Exon frowned slightly. You can take revenge on him however you want, but you must leave him alive. His blood flows with mine, and he cannot die before he leaves a lineage for the Bailey family. Bailey Peng Peng gazed into Bailey Exion's eyes, and after a long time, a cold laugh came from beneath the mask. I used to think you were just a cold-blooded schemer, but now it seems you are just scum. Bailey Exon, listen to me. He looked into Bailey Exion's eyes, speaking each word clearly. The Bailey Group, the Forbidden Collection, the high ranks of the Night Watch. These things that are more important than anything in your eyes mean nothing to me. Bailey Tu Ming of the Bailey family is already dead. The only one living in this world is Bailey Peng Peng of the 5th Reserve Team. This time I will not live for you, I will not live for the Bailey family. I will only live for my brothers. The Bailey family is a cancer to Daxiao, and today we will completely eradicate this cancer. You and your useless son, both must die here today. As Bailey Peng Peng's words fell, he suddenly rushed towards the collapsed Bailey Jing not far away, his wooden ruler glowing, his eyes filled with killing intent. Bailey Exion's face darkened, his gaze fixed on Bailey Peng Peng's back. He spoke in a low voice. Ungrateful fool. Do you really think that angering me will lead to a good outcome? He waved his hand and a large amount of black fine sand gathered into two masses, one transforming into a massive sword that slashed towards Bailey Peng Peng's throat, while the other formed a hand that grabbed Bailey Jing from the ground, dragging him towards himself. Bailey Tu Ming is undoubtedly dead today. A voice came from behind Bailey Exon, the 9th seat who had just killed the archer, laughed as he charged into the fine sand, placing his hands on the sand that held Bailey Jing, causing it to twist like a spiral and shatter in the air. Both Bailey Exon and Bailey Peng Peng were taken aback. The 9th seat suddenly made a move, directly reaching for Bailey Jing's head. Seeking death. Bailey Exon growled, and a golden spear suddenly appeared in his hand, its golden tip shining brilliantly as he thrust it towards the 9th seat in midair. Boom! A thick golden beam grazed past the 9th seat's body, causing his expression to change slightly as he quickly retreated a few steps, turning to look at Bailey Exon, his face extremely dark. Bailey Exon, you are not on our believers' bounty list. Do not force me to kill you too. Fool. Bailey Exon scolded angrily. Did you never think about who put up the bounty for killing Bailey Tu Ming? The 9th seat was taken aback. What does that have to do with me? Bailey Exon was furious. The bounty for killing Bailey Tu Ming was posted by me. I wanted you to kill him on the way before he returned to Guangshan. Who told you to come to my venue and cause trouble? The 9th seat spoke seriously. I am a professional assassin. If the target is not dead, even if I have to chase him to the ends of the earth, I will definitely kill him. Bailey Exon pointed at Bailey Peng Peng. Then you can't even distinguish your target? This is Bailey Tu Ming. Why are you trying to kill my son? Isn't your son Bailey Tu Ming? The 9th seat said with a strange expression. You just said it yourself at the venue, how could it be wrong? Bailey Exon was left speechless. Please do not insult my intelligence. The 9th seat spoke seriously. I am a professional assassin, and I would never make such a low-level mistake as killing the wrong person. Whoosh. Just as the 9th seat was holding Bailey Exon back, Bailey Peng Peng slashed through the black fine sand and charged directly in front of Bailey Jing. You stabbed my heart once, now it's my turn. Bailey Peng Peng murmured, his eyes flashing with killing intent, and the wooden ruler stabbed towards Bailey Jing's heart like lightning. Puff. The wooden ruler easily pierced through Bailey Jing's chest, passing through him, and a spray of blood erupted. Bailey Jing, who had just escaped from the 9th seat's men, looked down at his chest, blood already staining his suit. He stiffly raised his head to look at the silly smiling pig mask, his eyes filled with disbelief. You can't kill me. His murmured voice came out in broken fragments as Bailey Peng Peng twisted the wooden ruler in his hand, completely shattering his heart. Bailey Jing's eyes lost their luster, completely devoid of life as he knelt before Bailey Peng Peng. Go to hell. Bailey Peng Peng gazed at the face filled with fear, murmuring to himself. Fire of departure. A flame ignited on Bailey Jing's corpse, the scorching tongues of fire flickering in the air, gradually carbonizing Bailey Jing's body, turning it into a handful of ashes that completely dissipated into the air. The firelight cast a red hue on Bailey Pong Pong's mask as he slowly turned his head, fixing his gaze on Bailey Exon. "It's your turn." He stepped forward, gripping the wooden ruler, and slowly walked towards Bailey Exon on the high platform. Seeing his son turn to ashes, Bailey Exon's expression changed slightly, his fists clenched tightly. Chapter 441. I really like your forbidden items. Boom. Under the night sky, Lin Chia's figure collided with the lion several times before separating again. As the highest combat power of the Bai Li family, the lion wielding a kinetic energy sword could stand toe-to-toe with the captain or vice-captain of Team 006 even in the capital city. He never expected that a boy of barely 20 could match him in battle. Lin Chia stood in the night, gazing at the lion before him, his brow slightly furrowed. Back in Songnan he had indeed killed Loki's avatar, but at that time he had forcibly activated the divine power left in him by the Seraph, enough to sustain an entire city for months. After that battle his divine power had long been exhausted. Now he was entirely relying on the soul of the night goddess and the divine ruins, fighting with a half-step Klein realm against a true Klein. Defeating or killing a Klein, while being at a lower level, was not an easy task. However, for the forbidden item users their flaws were also quite evident. Lin Chia shifted his gaze away from the kinetic energy sword and slowly closed his eyes, his mind already formulating a way to counter that kinetic energy sword. "It's up to you, Sir Merlin," he murmured. Behind him, the figure of a woman draped in a black starry gown slowly faded away, and another figure wearing a tall hat and holding a staff emerged, gradually merging into his body. Lin Chia let out a muffled groan, his face turning slightly pale. Changing the divine soul he bore posed a serious risk to his own soul, but fortunately, since he had re-established his soul after it shattered in Songnan City, its strength had increased several levels. Coupled with his significantly stronger realm, he could barely hold on. However, doing so would inevitably reduce the duration of the soul he bore, and time was running out for him. A hazy magical aura emanated from Lin Chia, enveloping the night sky, which quickly faded. His black hair began to turn white at a visible speed, and a deep blue magical robe intertwined behind him. Lin Chia's eyes slowly opened. The starry glimmers in his eyes had vanished, replaced by a pair of abyss-like deep eyes. He resembled the brightest star in the sky, illuminating the uncertain fates of all. The sudden clear sky astonished everyone at the venue, but the most shocked was the lion standing not far from Lin Chia. He could clearly feel that in just a few seconds, Lin Chia's aura had completely changed. If the previous Lin Chia was a king of the night, now he had transformed into a mysterious being that seemed capable of seeing through everything. "You can transform again?" the lion couldn't help but comment. Lin Chia ignored him. Every second was crucial for him. He gently raised a hand and golden magical lines rapidly outlined a massive magical array in front of him. "Gold magic, chaos magnet." Lin Chia softly chanted, and the golden array before him instantly erupted with blinding white light, dazzling like the sun. The lion, standing on the imitation Yaoguang, furrowed his brow. The next moment, the kinetic energy sword in his hand began to tremble uncontrollably, rapidly flying toward the golden array in the sky. Not just the sword, but the entire metallic composition of the Bai Li main building emitted a low hum, as if it were about to warp at any moment. Screws, nuts, scattered forks and knives on the ground, and hanging light filaments. All small metallic objects whistled as they flew toward the sky, drawn to the massive magnet radiating magical energy. The lion tightly gripped the kinetic energy sword, his body and the sword flying toward the chaos magnet. Even though the imitation Yaoguang beneath him struggled to pull him in the opposite direction, it could not resist the terrifying suction force acting on the kinetic energy sword. "Fatty." Lin Chia's lips moved in the sky, sending a sound transmission spell to Bai Li Fatty in the venue. Bai Li Fatty's eyes lit up, and the Taiji diagram beneath him glowed once more. Reversal of heaven and earth. He extended his hand toward the lion in the sky, and the kinetic energy sword was immediately affected by the disarm effect, shaking violently. At other times the lion could suppress disarm with his mental power, But now the kinetic energy sword was already unstable due to being attracted by the chaos magnet in the sky. This sudden disarm became the last straw that broke the camel's back. The kinetic energy sword could sever illusions but could not affect magnetic forces. The lion's hand involuntarily loosened, and the kinetic energy sword transformed into a rainbow, flying toward Lin Chia. Lin Chia caught the kinetic energy sword and waved away the chaos magnet in front of him, carefully examining the sword in his hand, a smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. A forbidden item user who had lost their forbidden item was merely an ordinary person with slightly stronger mental power. The lion, controlling the imitation Yaoguang, stood in the air, his hands empty and his expression somewhat dazed. I really like your forbidden item. Lin Chia toyed with the kinetic energy sword, squinting at the lion. You can leave now. The lion's face turned ashen, feeling as if he were about to explode with anger. Looking at Lin Chia, it felt as if Lin Chia was saying, I really like your wife. Remember to lock the door when you leave. Lin Chia flicked his fingers, and a magical array opened above the lion's head. A massive black hand emerged, slapping down on the lion's body, sending him crashing down like a cannonball, smashing through several floors of the main building and disappearing from sight. A teleportation spell opened beneath Lin Chia's feet, and in an instant he vanished from the spot. At the venue, Bai Li Exin held a golden spear in one hand and the wooden sword sheath that had originally belonged to Bai Li Jing in the other. The surrounding black fine sand swirled like a storm encircling him. Seat 9 looked at Bai Li Jing, who had turned to a pile of gray dust, and sighed with some regret. I couldn't kill him myself, but at least the mission is complete. He turned to Bai Li Fatty beside him and waved his hand. Brother, it was a pleasure working together. See you in the martial world. Bai Li Fatty's expression behind the mask became strange. The figure of Seat 9 flickered and disappeared near the high platform. The next moment, a teleportation array unfolded beside Bai Li Fatty. Lin Chia, draped in a deep blue robe, stepped out of the magical array, holding a kinetic energy sword, calmly gazing at Bai Li Exin standing on the high platform. It seems this is the last one, Lin Chia said light. Chapter 442, Devouring Origin Sword Sheath. Crash. A crack rapidly spread across one wall, ultimately causing it to collapse completely. Wei Xiaoming, who was already bruised and unconscious, fell to the ground with a thud, motionless. Jialon, dressed in a blue long dress, stepped out from the swirling dust and took a deep breath, brushing off the dust from her clothes. Nearby, Qingyu, who had just teamed up with the frenzied Chao Yuan to deal with the other members of Team 010, approached and asked, all taken care of? Jialon nodded, And Qingyu's gaze swept across the dilapidated venue. The Zodiac had been completely wiped out and only a few of them remained on the floor along with Bai Li Exin, who stood on the high platform. What about him? Qingyu pointed at the frenzied Chao Yuan, who was wildly hacking at the remaining giant pythons, asking helplessly. Jialon turned to look. She saw Chao Yuan chasing a giant python to the edge of the floor. After delivering a final blow, he fell alongside the python from the 166th floor. The sound of his silly laughter gradually faded away. Jialon's lips twitched slightly. Forget him. Qingyu silently withdrew her gaze. There's really no need. The two of them hurried towards the central high platform. On the shattered top floor, Shen Qingzhu, wearing a white fox mask, sat at the edge of the floor, gazing at the figures gathered around the high platform, lost in thought. The mission is complete. We should retreat now, the 9th seat said as he approached Shen Qingzhu. Shen Qingzhu slowly replied, wait a bit longer. What are we waiting for? The 9th seat asked, puzzled. With such a commotion from the Bai Li family, the night watchers must have noticed. Someone will be here soon. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to. You go ahead, Shen Qingzhu murmured. I'm not too sure about them. What did you say? Shen Qingzhu's second sentence was too quiet for the 9th seat to hear. He looked around, hesitated for a moment and then sat back down. Why aren't you leaving? Shen Qingzhu asked in surprise. You, a junior, aren't afraid of death, so why should I be? The 9th seat patted his shoulder. You are destined to become the 2nd seat and lead the entire believers to glory. If I'm not here to watch over you and something happens, what will happen to believers? Shen Qingzhu was taken aback. He looked into the 9th seat's eyes. You really believe I can revitalize Believers? If I don't believe, what can I do? Everyone else is almost dead. Right now you're the only one left in Believers with potential. If we don't rely on you, should we rely on me? The ninth seat shook his head. I'm getting old, I can't carry the burden anymore. The future has to be handed over to you young people. Believers, is that important to you? It used to be, the ninth seat said vaguely. In any case, it would be a pity if Believers just faded away like this. Shin Qingzhu turned his head, silently watching the distant battlefield, remaining silent. In the venue, Bailey Exon stood on the high platform, holding a golden spear in one hand and the wooden sword sheath in the other. His gaze swept over Bailey Pangpang and Lin Chia in front of him, as well as Jialon and Qingyu hurrying from a distance, his eyes narrowing slightly. Bailey Jing was dead, the Zodiac had been completely wiped out, and even their forbidden items had fallen into the hands of Lin Chia and the others. This loss was undoubtedly a devastating blow to the family. Of course, a son could be born again. As long as they retrieved the forbidden items, the forbidden item users could be cultivated slowly. Although Bailey Xin's heart was filled with anger and resentment, he was not in despair. In the 30-plus years since he started from scratch, what kind of setbacks had he not faced? As long as he, Bailey Exon, was alive, everything was not over. Very well, Bailey Exon took a deep breath, calming his mind. I admit Yifan's vision is indeed sharp. Even just a reserve team, you managed to push me to this point. If everything goes smoothly, surpassing Mask and Phoenix is just a matter of time. So, are you really not considering my proposal anymore? You've killed my son, taken my forbidden items. You must feel relieved now, right? I'll say it again. If you stop now, I can pretend none of this ever happened. I will mobilize the entire Bailey family's resources to help you become the strongest in the Great Xia. Have you said enough? Before Bailey Exon could finish, Lin Chia calmly interrupted him. Bailey Exon froze on the high platform. Truly worthy of the chairman of the Bailey Group. Even with your son dead, your family destroyed and your people slaughtered, you can still calmly negotiate with us. Objectively speaking, this kind of resolve is indeed rare. Lin Chia spoke lightly. But not everything can be resolved through business. Today the Bailey family must be removed from the Great Xia and you must die here. We will become the strongest Night Watcher team in the Great Xia by ourselves. With or without the Bailey family, it makes no difference. As his words fell, several blinding magic circles erupted from the ceiling of the venue, and terrifying fire elements surged forth, instantly engulfing the figure on the high platform. The scorching flames blazed fiercely, the red light reflecting on Lin Chia's face, his eyes utterly calm. Chia. Bailey Pangpang couldn't help but speak. Lin Chia turned to look at him, smiling as he said, if you were going to say something as sentimental as thank you, there's no need to. That's not it. Bailey Pangpang said helplessly, he has a sequence 066, devouring origin sword sheath, that can store any form of energy attack and release it again in the shape of a sword, so. Lin Chia. Amidst the surging flames, all the fire suddenly rolled back, forming a massive fire vortex suspended in the air, crazily pouring into the seemingly ordinary sword sheath. Residual flames flowed around Bailey Exon as he coldly watched Lin Chia and the others, his hand holding the wooden sword sheath lifting slightly. It seems this business deal is completely off the table, he slowly said. In that case, you all can die here. He slashed the sword sheath towards the void in front of him. Swoosh. A flame blade 300 meters long sliced through the air, cutting horizontally. This compressed flame blade instantly severed all the columns on the floor, melting the steel bars, and a small section extended out of the main building, leaving a scarlet trail in the air. At the moment the 166th floor was about to collapse, the black fine sand surged out again, reconnecting all the supporting columns, stabilizing the precariously swaying floor. Chapter 443, Monsters. Outside the main building, a teleportation magic circle opened, and the figures of 4 people materialized. Can't we use energy-based attacks anymore? Lin Chia looked at the residual flames in the air, his brow slightly furrowed. The golden spear with ultimate attack power, the sword sheath that can absorb energy attacks, the strange flowing black fine sand, the sighing wall that isolates the outside world, and counting the white slash, it seems only 5 out of the 12 extremely dangerous collectibles have appeared. Bailey Pang Pang shook his head, raising his thumb where a jade ring was gleaming. The jade armor on Bailey Jing is also an extremely dangerous forbidden item, and the praying abyss you took from the lion's hand makes it 7. Lin Chia was taken aback and looked down at the kinetic energy sword in his hand. Is this also one of the collectibles? That's right. The lion is the highest guardian of the Bailey family's spiritual realm, so it's only natural for Bailey Xen to give him a collectible. As Bailey Pang Pang said this, he seemed to remember something. You didn't just return White Slash to Bailey Xen, did you? If he has that sword, we would be at a disadvantage. Lin Chia raised an eyebrow and reached out into the void. A summoning magic array opened in the air, and a snow-white long knife appeared in Lin Chia's hand. I'm not stupid. Although using this knife makes me feel nauseous, I wouldn't just return this killing weapon to Bailey Xen. Lin Chia said calmly, I have my own backup plan. That's good. Bailey Pang Pang breathed a sigh of relief. Out of his 12 collectibles, 3 are in our hands, and 3 are too large for him to carry with the replicated free space, which means he currently has at most 1 collectible on him. What are the other 2? One is called Fire Demon Bottle. On the surface it looks like a porcelain bottle, but it can pour out endless black flames. This kind of flame has its own life, can stretch for miles, and can even gather into a human form, hence it's called a fire demon. The other is called Dirge. In terms of sequence, it should be the most dangerous forbidden item in the entire Bailey family, but I don't know its specific function. In any case, it should be quite terrifying. Bailey Pang Pang shared all the information he knew. Lin Chia nodded. Knowing most of his means is already quite good. Now we can only take it one step at a time. Lin Chia turned to look at Jialon, opened his mouth to say something, hesitated for a moment and silently closed his mouth. He walked in front of Qingyu and Bailey Pang Pang and said seriously, Bailey Xen himself is at the infinite realm and possesses so many extremely dangerous forbidden items. His strength cannot be underestimated. You two should stay away from the central battlefield. Jialon and I will confront him directly. Jialon. Understood. Qingyu nodded. Qingyu was a smart person. He knew that with his Chuan realm's strength, forcing himself into this battle would only increase Lin Chia's difficulty. So even if Lin Chia didn't say it, he would quietly stay on the outskirts of the battlefield, ensuring he wouldn't become a burden. Actually, I'm quite powerful too. Bailey Pang Pang couldn't help but speak up. Lin Chia looked at him, hesitated for a moment. Your forbidden ruins are very effective against Bailey Xen. You can intervene at the right moment, but don't overexert yourself, understand? Understood. Whoosh. A golden beam of light pierced through the clouds, accurately targeting Lin Chia and the others in midair. The 4 figures quickly dispersed, and in the blink of an eye, Lin Chia vanished from his original spot, teleporting himself back to the venue. Spatial magic, void lock. Lin Chia stood in the venue, his magic surging as a massive white magic array unfolded in front of him. The space around Bailey Xen immediately began to distort. Transparent chains spread out from the void, locking onto Bailey Xen's body from all angles, as if a cage was trying to trap him. Bailey Xen frowned slightly, and with a flick of his golden spear, a destructive golden beam instantly dissolved all the chains. That spear can even penetrate space? Lin Chia's expression grew serious as he watched the golden spear in Bailey Xen's hand. At that moment, a figure in a blue long dress swept past him, heading straight for Bailey Xen on the high platform. Jialon's skirt fluttered in the wind, yet not a hint of spring scenery was revealed. It was vaguely visible that a few transparent tapes had already stuck to her thigh, adhering it to the inside of her skirt, ensuring that no matter how the wind blew, she wouldn't expose herself. Seemingly noticing Lin Chia's gaze, Jialon suddenly turned her head back and shot him a fierce glare, her cheeks flushing with a faint blush. Seeking death. Bailey Xen coldly snorted as he watched Jialon approach directly, and with a sudden swing of his spear, a terrifying golden beam pierced through space, directly engulfing Jialon's figure. Just as Bailey Xen thought Jialon had been obliterated, that blue figure burst forth from the golden light, showing no signs of slowing down. How is this possible? Bailey Xen stared in shock at this scene, completely frozen in place. In the blink of an eye, Jialon had reached the high platform. Her fair fist broke through the air, striking towards Bailey Xion's face like lightning. The latter instinctively took a half step back to avoid the punch, but immediately afterward he was kicked off the high platform by a flying kick. Bailey Xion flew several meters before barely stabilizing himself, his eyes filled with astonishment as he looked at Jialon. Lin Chia had already grown accustomed to this. With the immortal trait, Jialon was practically a cheat. The realm meant nothing to her. Attacks from the Zhan realm couldn't break her defense, and neither could attacks from the Klein realm. Even divine beings couldn't harm her. The only difference was that Jialon could knock out someone from the Zhan realm with one punch, but to take down someone from the Klein realm, she would need hundreds or thousands of punches. At the divine level, it was no longer a matter that could be solved with mere punches. Jialon's spiritual realm had always been a mystery to Lin Chia, as she had never revealed what realm she was in. The strength of her mental power was irrelevant to her. From the day she obtained immortal, she had become an undying existence. Of course, in terms of defense she was already on par with divine beings, but her flaws were also quite evident. Her attack power was too weak, and if her opponent had control-type Forbidden Ruins, they could easily bind her. If there were defensive-type Forbidden Ruins, Jialon would also struggle to break through her opponent's defenses. What kind of monsters are in your team? Bailey Xion looked at Jialon, then at Lin Chia, and finally at Bailey Pangpang standing at the edge of the venue, unable to help but curse.